Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 191, Burnout or Burning from 2014. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Hotland. Since 1971, Hotland has created room for ideas to grow. Jacob Hotland started up with scarce resources and hard work, and the first proper office was set up in a barn in Omsoen, Norway. Shout out to Hotland.
Well, shout out to Hotland and shout out to patron Christian Larson for supporting the show and picking this movie for us. We will be talking about it after the break. But Joe, first up, extracurricular activities. What have you been up to since we last spoke? Wait, hold on. Sorry. Before you go, this is, if you're listening in the main feed, you have one more day to vote on the Hall of Fame bracket, cageclub.me/bracket. Or if you're listening on Patreon, you have a few more days. But if you have not yet voted, please vote, cageclub.me/bracket. Too Fast, Too Forever Hall of Fame, please, and thank you. Okay, go ahead.
My buddy Matt was visiting from Atlanta.
Where the players play.
He had hoes in different area codes. He came up to visit, and so he was staying with us for last week. We had a barbecue this weekend, which was the first time I had a barbecue in a while, so that was a lot of fun. I made some pulled pork and some beans, and we made mac and cheese and stuff like that. I got to play with my fire pit for the first time, and I had this whole dead tree that was fucked up my fence, so we burnt a bunch of that. That was fun. So we were just hanging out doing that stuff, and we also went to go see Black Widow this week. So we saw that in XD, which is a step down from IMAX, but that's what we have at our theater. That's been it. Did you see Black Widow?
I did, but you missed a very big thing.
What's the very big thing?
The thing that we did with Matt, with Brian.
Oh.
With Kyle.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly. There's been so much shit happening.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about burning a tree, why would you think about driving to another state to see 2 baseball games?
That's true. Yes. So the
Don't
Pirates
do
are
drugs,
playing the
kids.
Mets. Yeah, the Pirates are playing the Mets. Dude, there's just been a million things happening. The Pirates are playing the Mets, and it got rained out on Thursday, and they played Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So Saturday, we went to the Mets game, which became a doubleheader. And Matt came with us, and you were actually going to be busy, but you wound up being able to come too.
Mm-hmm.
So me, you, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, and Kyle, the Foodie Foods man himself.
Fruity Foods man, yep. Mm-hmm.
Was all there in attendance at the baseball game. And we got to see, we were very close. By the way, if anybody knows, they know that we did Zack Attack. And one of the famous Zac Efron movies is High School Musical. And we also mentioned that Vanessa Hudgens from High School Musical dates one of the Pirates, and she was at the game. Although we did not see her or see her on the screen or anything like that, she was in attendance. We found out later via her Instagram.
Yep.
So we were in the same building as Vanessa Hudgens this weekend too.
Yeah, man. And she was down with the common folks. I mean, she was probably in very nice seats, but she was not up in a box. So, we could have theoretically run into her.
I mean, yes.
And I made you the offer. I made you the deal, and you said, yeah, even though it wasn't going to happen, that when we were doing Zack Attack, before we had agreed to do this, or before the idea to do this, and Boyfriend Material and Magic Mike's, I was like, we should do a Vanessa Hudgens spin-off podcast on the Zack Attack feed, and I had made separate art. It was the Van Halen art, the black with the gold logo, and instead of saying Van Halen, it said Van Hudge, and it was just at the Vanessa Hudgens podcast. And I don't think you'd either remember. I think I had shown you forever, but I don't think you remember because I showed you the art. But I was like, if we find her and if we talk to her, we have to do this podcast.
And I 100% agreed. Yeah.
And then, but there's no way that we were going to do it. But
exactly.
Yeah. That podcast died, so this one could live, I guess.
But yeah, it was fun. So I've had a busy week since we recorded last. We did a whole bunch of wacky fun time shit. But it was good to go to a baseball game. That was fun. The crowd seemed pretty good. I like going to Mets games. I like Citi Field. We were talking about when we'd go there before. McCullough used to be there, but that got...
That's a brewery for people who don't know.
Yeah, it got killed because of COVID, but there was a full brewery in the front of Citi Field. So we lost that, but we just walked around, hung out. It was a beautiful day, and that's what we did.
To answer your question from earlier, I did see Black Widow.
What'd you think? Would you like?
My girl Florence Pugh was the best part of it.
For sure. I saw a great tweet that summed it up that said
Was it the one that I retweeted?
Maybe. It was damn, how did Scarlett Johansson become a supporting character in her own movie?
Yeah, Florence Pugh just made the star of her movie into a supporting character. Yep.
That was absolutely the best part of the movie. I agree. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, and I liked it for vastly different reasons than I ever thought that I would. Mainly that Florence Pugh stole the show, so she's just fucking awesome, and the movie was great because of her.
Well, I've been on her hype bandwagon for like 5 years now, so I knew. That's the only reason I was excited for it. Like, it was fine. It was fine. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. People in my theater were going nuts for it. I don't know what Marvel's doing now. I've not seen the Loki finale yet, which came out today, but
Yeah,
I
I'm
saw
gonna
a
watch it
headline that
after.
was like, the villain, the end villain in this basically undermines Loki to set up a future Marvel thing. It just feels like Marvel is both trying to set up the future, which is going to be the multiverse in some way, but then Black Widow is just like,
It was set in the
spoilers
past.
again. Scarlet's character is dead. Natasha is dead, and this is going to set up Yelena to be, I guess, the new Widow or whatever she becomes in the comics. And so they need to introduce her. But like, I don't know, man. It didn't feel like there was really a point to it. It was good action, I think, and it was pretty funny. But again, just like, yeah, okay,
And then one last thing that I've been saving from you,
okay.
and I didn't want to post on social media because I want to tell you now. I asked our buddy Wells because he went to go see F9, and he got this really cool F9 popcorn bucket that was like this branded thing. So I was like, hey, oh man, I really need that. And he was like, yeah, no problem, brother. Like, I got you. I'll send it to you. And I was like, cool, let me know how much shipping is, whatever. He's like, don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, you're the man. But I got that package in the mail, and I was like, oh, cool, it's the popcorn bucket from Wells. And the awesome dude that he is, he filled it with a bunch of really fun candy things. So thank you, Wells, for the popcorn bucket and the candy. I dug into these trolley evil twins today, and they're awesome. You have a really good taste in candy, brother. So thank you. And I was going to post it on social media, but I knew we were recording tonight, so I wanted to show Joey first, and then we'll post.
But he didn't send me one though, right?
No, he just had like one of these buckets. I just like asked for the bucket. So thank you, Wells.
Yeah, thanks, Wells.
Why are you going to be a hater? He had one of them, and I asked for it nicely.
We also did, since last week, we did an episode of Cars with Garrett Smith out as a bonus episode on Patreon.
did.
We did it on Thursday, which was fun.
I mean, I know this sounds corny, but like those Patreon episodes are actually a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun talking to Garrett, and we tried to figure out how cars are animatronic, but also people, and how the universe of Cars exists. And it was a wacky, fun time. So that was good.
So that's at toofast2forever.com if you want to join over there. There are now, I think, 9. Let me see here. Hold on. How many bonus episodes are there? There are, 9 bonus episodes that will never be on the main feed. So if you want to get all those, toofast2forever.com. We did go to the Mets game. You guys left after the first game. I stayed with my friend Dylan, who's joined for the whole
Barbecuing.
second game. He and I hung out the whole time. We saw the second game and then went back to his place because his wife was having a birthday party on Sunday. So I hung out in the city on Sunday. We did some stuff in the city in the morning, then hung out, saw her friends in the afternoon, and I went home. So a wonderful weekend.
Cool.
On Monday, I had another How to Win the Lottery pod hangout with Bob. We did a book by Haruki Murakami, who's this huge... Do you know Murakami?
If it's the really, really old Japanese writer, then yes. If not, then
Nope,
no.
he's still around. He is probably like the most popular, best-selling, non-English speaking author in the world, probably.
What kind of stuff did he write? What would I know?
The Wind-Up Bird Chronicles, 1Q84, Hard-Boiled Wonderland, The End of the World. The book that we did was Colorless Sukuru Tazaki and His Years of Pilgrimage, which is a book that I had owned that fit into the theme that we were doing. So we covered that book, and then we watched a movie that came out 2 or 3 years ago called Burning, which is a Korean movie that is based on a short story he wrote, not the book that we covered, but it's based on a short story called Barn Burning that we read, which is like 13 pages or something. So we also read that, and then we watched that movie, and that movie was great, but hung out with Bob and did that. So that'll be out in a couple of weeks because we're a little bit ahead, because the next book we're doing is like a 1,000-page book that is like difficult to read as well, instead of not just being long, but just
Sounds
difficult. We will, we were building up a little bit of a lead, so How to Win the Lottery every other Thursday. New episode out tomorrow as we record this, yesterday for patrons, or last Thursday for everyone. It's called Memories of My Father Watching TV by Curtis White, who wrote this other book called Requiem, which is amazing and really cool and really weird, that Bob loves and recommends to me, and I love too. And this is different, but also good. So How to Win the Lottery every other Thursday. Check that out. But I also want to say, so 2 recommendations. One I meant to say last week that I just forgot. But there is on Netflix, there's the new season, second season of I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. Have you heard about this? Have you seen the show? Do you know about the show?
When I saw the pictures of this guy, I feel like you told me about this when we were watching like Joe Pera Talks to Me or something. I feel like I watched a couple episodes of it because like I remember it for some reason. I don't know if I finished it or what.
He has become memes all over Twitter because each season's like 6 episodes. Each episode's like 15 or 17 minutes, so it's very, very short. Probably about like an hour 40 maybe each season. Season 1 came out like 2 years ago. Season 2 came out last week, I think. It's wonderful. It's one of the funniest things on TV. It's on Netflix. He's great. He was from Detroiters, which he did with Sam Richardson, who is Richard Splett on Veep. He's not, it's a different kind of comedy altogether than Joe Pera, but also just, he's also wonderful. Season 2 I watched last Tuesday, Wednesday. I was going to mention on the pod, but forgot to. So recommendation to anybody who likes kind of sketch comedy or just funny things or whatever, I think you should leave on Netflix. But then specifically for you, but also for listeners, I have a new movie, not a new movie, it's like 35 years old, by a very famous director, but an underseen one you might have already seen. Have you seen the movie After Hours by Martin Scorsese?
No.
Okay, you should watch it. Stars Griffin Dunn. It's got a bunch of different people in it. Both of the parents from Home Alone are in it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. It's reminded me, feeling-wise, of Miracle Mile. It's a different story altogether than Miracle Mile, but I was like, oh my God, like nobody makes movies like this anymore. It's a New York movie that all takes place in a single night after midnight, the titular After Hours. It's amazing. I loved it so much, and I think you guys would really like it.
This
so
seems
it's also
up my
like
alley.
an hour and a half. So watch that. And I also watched The King of Comedy with De Niro and Jerry Lewis. Have you seen that one? That's also another Scorsese.
No, I haven't seen that.
That's also great. I would recommend After Hours to you first. I think you'd also like King of Comedy, but King of Comedy was basically almost entirely ripped off by Joker.
Oh,
like not that I had to hate Joker even more, but people were making fun of Joker for ripping off Taxi Driver. But it's like, well, he also like more directly ripped off the King Comedy. So both of those are worth seeing. I don't know that any are either streaming free anywhere, but
we can
check them out. After Hours especially, it's less like 97 minutes. It's very short, but it's wonderful. It's funny and it's stressful and it's overall great. So After Hours, and cool. I think you should leave. So something to tense you up and something to ease all that tension. Those are my recommendations for the week.
I'm saving this After Hours one. I'll definitely get into that. This definitely sounds right up my alley, so thank you.
We have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleiman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke Hayden, and Renato DiDonato, Michael McGann, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all so much for supporting at the $5 a month level or above. If you want to get those 9 bonus episodes, if you want to help pick what we watch, like Larson picked for this episode, if you want to get stickers and swag and other merchandise, toofast2forever.com, please and thank you. Also, if you have not yet left a review or a rating or whatever on Apple Podcasts, please do so. That helps people find it. It just surfaces it more. Apple cares more about that stuff than downloads. So if you want to do that, please and thank you. And then also, we have an email address, family@cageclub.me. We got a handful of emails today. So Nick sent one that says, so they're listening to us and me. And it's a Hallmark ornament, but the picture doesn't work. And I responded and said, hey, can you send it again? He did not get back to us. So
it's okay.
Hopefully in the future we will have one from him. We have 2 from Jenny. First one, subject line, thoughts. This is Jenny 1 as she signs the emails now. Jenny McMullen.
She's Jenny. You're always first in our hearts, just to let you know.
Hi, guys. Corey was a funny, entertaining guest. Not surprising considering his line of work, but especially enjoyed that super long episode. It was over 3 hours.
It was
crazy that you have 2 fans named Jenny. Happens all the time in school, on Facebook, in my Bunko group of 12, and even when I was a bank teller many, many years ago. Welcome to the new Jenny.
Well...
She says, now what really inspired me to write in was Joey's podcatcher story. This is me talking about using 3 different apps to listen to all my shows. Now I'm down to 1, which is great. I was surprised to hear you listen to so many, but then I counted mine and I'm subscribed to 17 with 4 additional to fill in. I'm still using the iPhone 6 I got as a hand-me-down in 2015. Whew, that's old, but all right. I prefer the term frugal as opposed to cheap. Good.
No, I mean, if it works, it works. Hey, man, I'm all for riding it out as long as possible, so amen.
This is why I was surprised, because the next number, because I saw that it's only 12 gigabytes, which is very, very small.
So I
really have to limit apps and memory in a major way. Apple Podcasts is the only one I've ever used, so I don't really know what I'm missing, and I like it that way. Well, okay. There's one where I just like Apple upgrade. I'm just like, I cannot use this anymore. So
yes, I understand.
If you're sticking it out, Good for you.
Yeah, hang in there.
Glad you're able to get yours together. Is WTF one of them? It is indeed. I do listen to Mark Maron's podcast. She says recently, Mark has interviewed Quentin Tarantino and Danny Trejo. Both felt like fast connections because of the movies you've watched. Really enjoyed both of those. Would recommend checking them out. That's all for now, Jenny 1. I did listen to those. The Tarantino one I thought was good. He also that week interviewed Steven Soderbergh, which is a Cage Club connection because Mike and Tobin and I did an entire season on all of his movies.
Yep.
And that was great. And then Danny Trejo one was really good too. So I'm glad that you liked those and enjoyed those.
Yes, that's like, do you do all three of those in 1 week?
No, he does 2 a week. So it was Tarantino and Soderbergh 1 week, and then I think the next week was Trejo and someone. But that was recently. So yesterday's was
still insane.
James Murphy, I think that's his name, from the dude from LCD Sound System was Monday's guest.
Yeah, that's insane. He has.
He's like guest. It's like the podcast of record. It's like him and Rogan, right? So.
Yep. Yeah, they're like the two guys. Yep.
So cool. And then Jenny follows it up with saying one word, Giselle. So this is what we talked about as. Yeah. We'll come back to this. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm jumping around a little bit. I'm doing some shorter ones first. This one is from Alex Ellen in subject line Cars Thoughts. So this is the Patreon bonus exclusive episode. Just to pile on the confusion on what the world and society is, Tow Mater is a tow truck in a junkyard. Yes, cool.
Yes.
He's surrounded by car parts. Is that the equivalent of a person being surrounded by people parts? Is Tow Mater actually the Ed Gein of the Cars universe? Also, Cars in the same universe as planes, so they aren't just limited to cars.
Oh, yeah. He's like in this weird like graveyard. Maybe he's like more like an Undertaker.
Yeah, but like you don't leave just like body parts above ground in piles. But
that's very true. Very, very true.
And that, the more you think about those movies, the weirder they get.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. Here's an email from Wells, subject line, not sure why it's all on bullet points, but it's all here, and I mean all. Yeah, so this one, remember I cracked the code on why some text was bigger. I don't know why this is bullet points. Yeah, I don't know why this is. I got nothing. So we'll find out. You think Vince and Jesse are bitter watching the franchise at this point? I think I've asked this before. At least Vince got a second movie. Bringing Jesse back in fast 11-year seatbelts would be the ultimate fan-friendly maneuver. Not necessarily evil, but just a super smart, mischievous motherfucker causing mayhem with his ADHD and brainwaves. Honestly, at this point, I want every character to come back that has died. Dom's dad, who's probably the voice from Hobbs and Sheezy, Giselle, Tran, and his cousin Bilkins. Even though he didn't die, I still want him back.
What has been happening lately is a lot of people have realized that like Leon's gone, and I think like Leon's probably more hurt because like his character didn't even die. We've talked about this, that like he's just like they just like left him in California.
No, but he said that he didn't want to do it anymore.
No, it was Neela that said she didn't want to do it anymore.
No, Leon too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay, well then.
That might have been because they left him behind. I don't know, but he has said that he doesn't want to do any more movies.
That's still.
I know that Chad Lindbergh wants, like Jesse wants to come. I mean, Jesse died, but he wants to come back. Leon and Neela, both for different reasons, whatever those reasons are, have basically disavowed the franchise.
Okay, makes sense. Poor Chad Lindbergh. He's like the only one that does want to come back, and his character's dead, and they like are reviving everybody else but him. So
when Letty came back at the end of 5, we had no idea, right? I don't know. This was before I was a fan. Do you know?
That Letty was going to come back?
Yes. Was that teased or was that a surprise reveal in the theater?
I think it was a surprise reveal in the theater. I don't remember hearing about it beforehand.
He says, I know she wasn't back, but they showed her face on the paper, and it was amazing because at the time they hadn't introduced Jesus-like comebacks yet. Vince and Dom's baby mama can come back even though I don't really want them to. Maybe Vince, but it's not super necessary. Vince is the ultimate doucher for a stepbrother with his net shirts and colorful language.
He is. Did we see an Elena body, by the way?
No, she shot off screen.
Okay, so Elena's very likely that she could come back. Vince is like dead in the car, bleeding out, dead.
I don't know that Elena will come back because Cypher or one of Cypher's goons shoots her point blank on that plane and Dom sees her die. So like you would think Dom, the family guy that he is, family first, would rescue her or save her.
Oh, you're right, because he kind of gives up on her. Yeah. Because
he's on the plane with her. So, like, unless there's some, like, we needed her to be undercover or whatever, like, which... But I don't know that people, like, watching these now would be like, Elena? Like, people know Han, because Han's in, like, 4 or 5 movies, right? It would be a huge reveal for us, but, like, the amount of legwork we would need to do to make it work within the universe to the payoff that it would have, I don't know that would work. Giselle, on the other hand, People know her, love her. She just sort of tumbles, right? Like,
Yeah, she falls presumably into the engine and dies, but we don't see that.
as much as I would like, well, I don't even think she falls in the engine, right? She just like she jumps off the back of that Jeep to shoot the guy who's about to kill Han. So she just like falls into the runway like hard. I mean, she doesn't like get like sucked into the engine or like impaled like Gina Carano does, right? So
fair, yeah.
And I think as much as I would like to see Vince back, he kind of he had his farewell, right? Like he does a heroic thing. He tries to betray them, but then he saves the day or whatever. We kind of wrote that off with them leaving the bag of money for them, right? So
yeah,
I think he's more likely than Elena, but also I think he and Elena are just donezo.
I think so too.
So Welson's in his new rankings. He says, here's my order. I'm going to say this. 9F, 9F, Rivals 5 for my fave solely because of the comeback. So that said, here we go, starting from the bottom. So his number 10 movie is Furious 7, which was his bottom before.
Okay.
Then 4F, which tumbles a few spots.
Okay.
Then Hobbs and Shaw, he puts in parentheses, the only note he adds is haven't seen in a while. So that stays in the same place.
Okay.
Then 8F, which tumbles a spot or two. 6F, which tumbles a spot or two.
Okay.
The original one, which tumbles a spot or two. 2F, which goes up a few, so that's moving up.
Okay.
His number 3 movie is 9. Then number 2 is Tokyo Drift, and number 1 is 5, which is, what he had before.
Breaking into the top 3. That's pretty crazy. Like I said, I was nervous that I was just so hyped the first time I watched it. And then when I left the second time, I was like, I still really like this. I'm waiting for it to make it into a lap. I think that by the time we come back around and we watch through all of them and then watch it again, I could really put it into context and see where it is. But it still feels like a top 4, top 5 one to me for sure. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you don't have to give your official contractually obligated rankings until after next lap.
Yes, which feels appropriate, I think.
Sure. He says it changed a little in the bottom half, which I documented as we went through. He says, I was baffled that F8 came out in 2017. I thought that came out after I found your podcast. Obviously not, though, since I've been listening for 4 years, and I don't think you've been doing it for 4 years, unless I'm dead wrong. No, our 4-year anniversary will be this December. So, no, wait, no. 4 year. That this December. It was December 2017.
There you go. Okay.
Because it was the December right before I bought my house, which was in March, April of 18. So
perfect.
I'm bad with time. It's meaningless to me, so I don't keep track of it. I swear it came out. We all saw it and then discussed it, but I know nothing anymore. Time flies at warp speed. It's not my fault. Holy shit, bros. You did start this in 2017. I just checked. But when did I come over to play? Tell me something to calm me down. I'm freaking out. Well, if you remember the first lap, which was just the 8 movies, and then the tune-up relap recap was once a month.
Oh, so yeah, so it kind of took longer. Yeah.
Yeah, through August-ish. And then I think by the end of the first lap, we're like, we should probably bump this up. And we went to every 2 weeks, and then I think shortly thereafter, we supercharged Gosling and then killed Channing. And then, we went to every week and then twice a week and then back to every week and Patreon bonus episodes. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You're good, though, Wells. Don't freak out.
You're okay, yeah.
Just smoke more weed. You're going to be fine.
You'll be all right, yeah.
In 9F, it's the second time in the franchise they reference Rome compensating for a small weenie. Han did it in 6 when Roman totally set himself up for it. Yeah?
Yeah.
Twinkie doesn't go by Twinkie anymore, but he doesn't say what his name is. I hope it's Brian. I mean, there's already enough Brians, right? There's 2 Brians, so why not a third?
Is Bow Wow the savior? What if they just cast Bow Wow as Brian and everybody just pretends the Aunt Viv switch? Nobody acknowledges it.
There was somebody, I think, I don't remember who it was, but I saw something in an email somewhere with a Twinkie theory. It's not that, but it's a different Twinkie theory, so just... Maybe Twinkie will be back. Maybe he won't. I don't know.
No, but I want him to, them to address that, he's no longer Twinkie, but then, in 10... Twinkie steps out of, Bow Wow steps out of the skyline. They're like, Brian's back. And, Mia runs up and hugs him. Well, he was already at the barbecue, so he plays
I don't think,
characters.
I think they could, when we, I mean, that's a slight spoiler for F9, but it's also in the trailer for F9, the thing. But Mike had the idea that, if you're going to bring Brian back, you don't need to CGI and just have one of Paul Walker's actual brothers do it. I think you could kind of Aunt Viv switch it like that. I don't think you could take a character existing in the universe already and be like, oh yeah, he's Brian now. It's like, wait, what?
He's a variant, just this is just variant Brian.
We just up here putting duct tape on shit, the best Rome line ever, top 3 at least. I mean, it's no hungry, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. It is good.
I guess these are some F9 spoilers. It's hard to.
I think we've gotten to a point where it's We're blending.
It's not like huge spoilers though. Like that's
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll keep theories separate, but whatever.
Okay.
They do go so hard on car stuff in the first one. They nerd out about it completely. I'm watching it right now. Yeah, they do.
They do.
Mia calls Vince V in the infamous 42 fake. She pulls on him in the kitchen when she asks him what the name of the restaurant is and then asks Brian to take her there. I never realized this, and it's kind of awkward. Why is it awkward?
Because it's kind of like a pet name. I get that. Why, you know what I mean? It's like she's like V. Because everybody else calls him Vince, or
I can see. I feel like maybe he didn't, but I feel like I could hear Dom calling him V.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's like the crew's name for it, like his nickname amongst.
I mean,
them.
he's known him since the 3rd grade.
He has.
But I also think that she's using it there. It's not awkward because she's using it there to like.
It's part of the act. Yeah.
All these Dom family memes make me smile. They're so wholesome and fun, and people are so creative. It's all a good part of the internet. Well, we disagree about that, but we have talked about that.
We have talked about that. And the Fast and Furious tuna posting group is incredible. I've been sending some of the good memes to Wes, and we've been laughing about them because we know that you're not a big fan of shitty Photoshop memes. Wells, if you do use Facebook, go check out the Fast and Furious tuna posting group because that's where they all are, and they're hilarious.
Then Wells sends another one of the TikTok things from Semi Stupid, which I sent to you, which was pretty good. It was them in Neptune's net eating shrimp and meal tickets and so on and so forth, which is pretty good.
I like those a lot too. I do. There's been this kid, and he does like the end of every Fast and the Furious movie, and it's like just the barbecue on TikTok that I've been seeing in that group too, and those are pretty fun too. So I don't know if Wells has run across those, but there's like one kid. It seems like he's in California, and he just does like scenes of the Fast and the Furious where he plays like all the characters. It's like it's pretty fun.
Says, I've decided as soon as F9 comes out on DVD, I'm going to watch them all in this order and see what it's like. Well, it should be, so theoretically, it should be on VOD in like a week or two, I think. And it'll probably be out on Blu-ray and DVD and stuff like in September, I would guess. Maybe October, but like not that far off. So
that kind of makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, you're getting close to that reality. I don't know if you'll be able to get a deals all day at Rasputin. You might have to pay full price for it, but you know.
Yeah, true.
Unless somebody buys it, hates it, and then sells it to Rasputin, then you can pick up a deal all day at Rasputin, right? So.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh boy. Okay, this is so. Then he sends in an order of the furthest one from the last one I watched method. I watched them in order so many times that I figured I'd switch it up. So he's gonna do one. Oh, he's gonna do it in this order.
Okay. Yes.
Wild. And I still don't know which one. I guess because he's watching one now. So, okay, but it's, I guess, most recent to longest ago, 1, 9, 2, 8, 3, 6, 4, 5. Which makes sense, because he just saw 9 in theaters, and he's watching 1 as he writes his email or whatever, so.
So he just the Wells universe order.
If you're going to watch it in that order, sure, why not? Just switch it up.
Mix it up, man. See how it feels. Tell us if you notice anything weird when you connect them this way.
Wait, so Dom was 34 in the first one in real life, and he was literally motorboating Letty, who's 21 in real life. Kind of crazy. Well, you know, both of age.
She seemed consenting. That was okay.
They're actors. It just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think I was wrong when I said Dom walked out with a shotgun in 9 the same way he did in 1, unless because I just watched that scene, he's not pointing it at Brian. Could it be another scene? Why did I think that? Now I'm all fucked up again. I recovered from the earlier part of this rant, but now I'm confused again.
He does. The 9 and the 1 are like very intertwined with the shotgun scene, at least. It's like when Jesse's like, when he pulls up and he walks out of the house, it's like the same scene. It was definitely meant to be that.
Anyway, bros, I talked for way too long. Can't wait for more F9 talk. It's been glorious. I'll see you on the other side. Peace, anus, you anus piecers. Well, he sent this 6 days ago, so it was before the F9 second gear episode was out. So you have another 2 hours of us talking about F9 with the Mikester. So yeah. Hopefully, and then in a couple weeks, 2 weeks from today, we'll hopefully consider. I'm hoping it's going to be on VOD. Talk about it again with Kara. So
Oh, true.
More
That's
F9.
Right.
More F9.
Cool. I'm excited. I want to hear Kara's thoughts on it too, because she's like a new convert. You know what I mean? So. So it'll be interesting to hear her perspective as someone that doesn't have any nostalgia with the franchise watching F9. So, that'll be nice. Hopefully it's on VOD so she can watch it.
Now we're back to the Jenny McMillan email, one word, Giselle.
Okay.
Hi guys, another theory as to why Han was taken out of the game with a faked death. These are some light F9 spoilers. He lost the love of his life, Giselle. He needed distraction and time to grieve. What better way than focusing on a kid? Not sure how long after he lost her to when he's back in Tokyo, and it did look like he was enjoying the single life again, but maybe that wasn't working. Enjoy the episode with Mike. Later, Jenny 1.
Jenny, we always have a joke in our house when something's going wrong and like a marriage is falling apart, like, how do you solve it? Have a child, right? So, yes.
Go on a reality show.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I understand this sounds right, but also that seems like a really bad idea for Han. It's like, man, how do I get over, like, grieving the loss of the one person I loved? It's like, adopt this child. That'll fix everything.
Yeah, man.
But yes, it does seem like it might work. Like, how did it work for everyone else? It never works, but it might work for us.
I don't know. In our last email from Wes, these family memes are getting out of control. What up, fam?
What up, Wes?
I feel like your mailbag is always overflowing with awesome comments, so I don't feel as compelled to write in, but I figured I'd drop a line and a couple thoughts I heard from the episode with Corey. He was a great guest and a lot of fun to listen to, even though he didn't die on air. I apologize, this does contain some very light spoilers for F9, if you're still keeping those separate at this point, which, again, we talked about. I don't think we are, but we'll see.
I think that, like, by the next episode, it's fucking over. Like, you had 3 weeks, guys.
Well, I mean, some people want to wait. People don't want to go to the theaters for COVID. There's justifiable reasons this time.
That's right. That's very, very true. Touche. You're right. It's not on VOD yet.
Says, I know exactly where San Angelo is. My dad went to Angelo State University. When you talk about ASU in Texas, you need to clarify Arizona State or Angelo State. Sung's Garage, podcast that a lot of people have talked about, very rarely about Fast and Furious, which is part of the reason I like it. They bring it up a bit because that's Sung Kang's connection to the car world, but mostly it's about him talking to car guys about their cars and what the community means to them. Sometimes he talks to actors who are into cars, sometimes he talks to people in the Fast and Furious world, sometimes he talks about Han, but mostly it's an avenue to discuss car culture and philosophy on life. So you want to learn more about him and not necessarily just in relation to Fast and Furious, and you're at least a little interested in cars. It's a good podcast. Cool. I recommend watching it on YouTube because you usually get a Zoom call with the guests and they show off their cars, so the visuals are helpful.
Ah, nice. That makes sense, yeah.
Joe, I think you're right. They never named Dom's dad until 9, but I only recently discovered in the 7 IMDb an uncredited listing for young Dom, played by Alex McGee, and Anton Toretto, played by Andrew Ayala. I can't find anything else about this except an old Tumblr post talking about it from before the movie was in production. I'm thinking Anton was going to be Papa Toretto, and based on what I've read, plus some of my own assumptions, I think the original version of 7 was going to mostly focus on Letty, her past, and her struggle to regain some of her memories. Because remember, that's the one where there's deleted scenes where she goes to the hospital, remember?
Yeah.
Then there's the scene of her getting the phone call in the car or whatever.
Yep, that's true, yes.
They could have worked some flashbacks in there since Dom and Letty have known each other since they were kids. Of course, when Paul died, they had to rework the story and focus less on Letty. I'm guessing the flashback stuff with these two actors was never shot. Anton's a cool name, but Jack makes much more sense with the context of Mia and Brian's son.
I agree. Yes.
Like, even if they didn't have that thought in mind, they're just like, oh, well, they had a boy, they need to name a boy's name. Like, you could just, like, retroactively name the dad that, right? Like, it could have been any name. And just
exactly.
Yeah.
If it would have been Anton, it could have been Anton. It doesn't matter. But
yep.
I just was saying, like, I don't think that they said it before.
Sure.
This is the first time I made that connection, and I mean, we watched the first one like minute by minute, right? So
it's not in the first one. There's only a handful of other scenes. Like, I remember thinking about my father. Like, it could be in that one, but like, I don't think it's in there either. Like, there's very few times where it would have come up, because otherwise we would have been like, on one of these viewings, we would have been like, holy shit, or whatever, right? But no.
Yeah.
One other thought about the Tokyo Drift crew in F9. What if Twinkie is related to Dinkley? This is what I saw before. He could be Twinkie's uncle or cousin. They have similar goofy names. They have a similar big mouth. They're always wheeling and dealing. Twinkie was an army brat. Dinkley was in the military. We know Dinkley has hookups with military aircraft, so maybe he knew someone at this German jet propulsion lab, and that's how the Tokyo Drift crew got their spot there and how they got the plane they launched the Fiero off of. That's why Twinkie's the linchpin, even though he's not doing any of the actual work. This felt more like a joke when I first thought about it, but now maybe it's legitimate.
I was like, okay, haha, when you first started, and then I started thinking about it, and I'm with you. Like, we kind of talked ourselves into a reality here, huh?
Well, I think one of the big questions, and I don't remember if it was a mic thing or a listener thing or one of the things that we said, and I don't think it was me, but someone was like, how did they get to Germany? It's like, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't. But, like, that's just where they wound up, right? But it would make sense if there was the family connection. They're like, hey, you want to do those wild rocket car shit? I've got a field for you.
Yeah, and Dinkley would be logical.
On the topic of Cypher movie, yes, give me whatever F&F content you want. I'll take a Cypher movie, and I agree she's the best actor in the series, or at least in the top tier. My biggest problem is that I don't really care about her character, but more than that, she's a remorseless narcissist of a villain, and putting her at the center of a spin-off means they're going to try to make her sympathetic and relatable. Well, probably, but not necessarily, but probably.
Probably.
Maybe there's a way to get there, but I don't care because I don't want her redemption. I don't need her to be a tragic character. That's why I'm okay with him sweeping Owen under the rug. Yeah, Cypher was running him, but he was wantonly murdering people because it was fun, and that's a little hard to come back from. They're having a hell of a time redeeming Deckard, and he was at least going after them for a reason that fans should understand better than anyone in the world. Cypher has her reasons, but in the end, she's not really trying to make things better. She just wants power. If they make it, I'll watch it, and I fully believe they can give her a backstory that justifies her trajectory, but she's like 20th on the list of characters I want spin-offs of.
I agree.
I'm fine with it. I think a Cypher spin-off, even if it's a sympathetic backstory, like a Cruella.
True, yeah.
I would rather have her than, honestly, most other characters.
Really?
Yeah.
You feel that way? Why? Just because she's such a good actress and like...
Well, it's partly that, but I don't need to know more about, like, Mia, really. I don't need to know more about Roman or Tej. Like, I don't need to know more about... I don't think they would do a Brian movie because Paul's dead.
Yeah.
We're supposedly getting a Dom spinoff. Why I'm interested in it is kind of what Wes writes about, but in reverse. Like, we don't know anything about her. Like,
we
I
don't
want
know
to know
anything
about
her. You're right. Yeah, that's
because she
true.
feels so important, and like they're continuing to slowly flesh out the world. And I know that we're probably going to get a little bit more about characters as these things go on, but like, I think generally, like, it's going to be like narrative from here on out, and I'm kind of fine with that. Like, I'm okay with Cypher. I think I would like a spin-off movie of like Mr. Nobody and his organization. I think that could be cool.
Okay.
That would be near the top of my list. I think Cypher's definitely up there.
You're looking for things that fill the most gaps of things we haven't seen yet.
Yes, correct.
That's
the
fair.
Han and Giselle trilogy that we've always talked about between 5 and 6, like that would be great.
Yep.
Like there were characters that I really love, but I think like of the main, like of the core family who's left, obviously I will watch and enjoy any of the movies, but I think I'd rather have a Cypher movie than like anyone in the core family.
I get it. That's a fair assessment. That's a good way.
Which
to
I didn't actually think about until like just now, but like
Yep. Yeah.
He has her list of 20, and I think you sort of agree, but like you're like, why her? But I
This makes sense when we flesh it out. I agree.
Yeah, at first glance, it's like, yeah, I don't want to know more about her. She's a villain. Like I don't want her sympathetic, but like, give me more.
There's so much to fill in the gaps there. It's such a blank page that it could really work well. I agree.
Plus, I still think it'd be funny if they cast Anya Taylor-Joy as a young Cypher too. Like I want to push that narrative, keep pushing the narrative. It wouldn't be crazy to bring her in because she's a huge box office draw. So get her as young Cypher, please and thank you.
Yeah.
What characters would you want a spin-off of more than Cypher? Han and Giselle, yes, obviously.
Han and Giselle, yes.
Would you like a Mr. No? Like, do you think a Mr. No? I think a Mr. Nobody thing would be cool. I don't know if we're gonna get one, but like that's got to be up there too. Like,
Mr. Nobody feels like series that would be a la Loki, WandaVision.
Sure, okay. I can also see like a 45-minute chunk, like the flashbacks that we got here to Dom's dad, as like in 10 or 11, whatever, like a bunch of like just Mr. Nobody background.
Yeah, that's why I was saying it feels more like a series that would be its own show.
Sure.
Because it doesn't really affiliate with any, like it wouldn't like affect the main storyline, and you could do the flashbacks in that, and you'd be like, oh, that's cool. And I would definitely watch it, right? Like, 8 episodes, it could run forever because, like, as long as it could go from the time that he was in the FBI until whatever happens to him, right? Like, until the movies start, or even if the movies start, because they can kind of exist around the movies. So I think that would be interesting. I don't know. Leo and Santos would be cool now because they've, like, that we know so little about them, too. The Shaw family, like, together, but just the Shaw family, like Owen, Deckard, Queenie and Hattie all together.
So just Hobbs and Shaw, but minus The Rock.
More so like that, like them as like a crime family, not Hobbs and Shaw as a buddy cop movie.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like Queenie like running it, calling them in to do stuff. That would be interesting. Those are the things I have on the top of my head.
Lastly, since Corey brought it up, I'd love to get some expanded universe books or comics. I think because this isn't fantasy or sci-fi, although it's debatable now, Universal probably isn't thinking that, but it's become such a big connected world, it would fit. I've talked to you about different stories I'd love to see, and some wacky ones I'd like to write if I had time or talent. Well, okay. It's actually been my secret desire for a long time to write a novelization of at least one, because it should exist. Add in some of the deleted scenes to flesh out the backstory. It's perfect for the medium. Maybe I'll get around to doing it just for fun, and Ben will be so impressed he'll tap me to head up the Fast and Furious Legends EU of novels and graphic novels. Seems reasonable. That's all for now. Until next time, stay furious. Wes.
I think we can call in Heather. She can be the editor.
Heather would be good. She's got connections. She's got ins.
Yeah, so Wes, get cranking.
My friend's wife works for Doubleday, maybe? So, like, she's got, we've got book connections, too. I got book connections, too, so... And Bob is friends with a bunch of authors and stuff, so yeah, just write it and we'll make it happen. Joe, on the streets, news about the Fast and Furious. That's all the emails. family@cageclub.me if you want to write in. But on the streets, news about the Fast and Furious. I don't think I've seen any. We're recording today on Brian O'Connor's birthday, which is very exciting.
Oh, we are. Interesting. I haven't seen anything because it's just like people watching F9. But no, I haven't seen any real news because I think we're kind of just riding the hype train of it, right?
And just every 2 weeks we get a new spin-off announced, and this is the off week, so next week we'll have another spin-off movie announced.
Exactly, yes.
Well, the final thing to do before we talk about Burning or Burnout or whatever it's going to be called is the Fast and Furious Minute, the Too Fast, Too Furious Minute, Minute 18, a minute I titled after a line of dialogue, a very dialogue-heavy minute you will hear in the interest of justice.
Customs here has done a great job of getting us this far. I'm just here to help get them over the top.
I was able to get an agent in undercover, working travel and logistics for him. Recently, Verone put her in charge of finding some new drivers.
Right, although we can't confirm her status right now.
Well, you think she's flipped?
She's one of mine. She's all right.
She's been in with Verone nearly a year. Even lives at the compound with him now.
Look, it was the FBI's idea to bring you in here. I'm against it. But we need some good drivers that can put this asshole and his money together. You're gonna roll with Agent Dunn here.
And if I don't?
Here's a list of the laws you broke in L.A. Obstruction of justice, aiding and abetting, you know the rap sheet. We can make this all go away in the interest of justice. If you're willing to play ball.
Yeah. So what's the idea here? Dunn and I are supposed to be street racers?
That's right.
From this minute, agents Bilkins and Markham continue to fill Brian in on their plan. They let Brian know they have an agent undercover with Verone, and they let him know their plan, have him and Agent Dunn pretend to be street racers. So we're getting close to the Gallo 12 and Gallo 24.
We're very close.
Not there yet, but this is the first time that Agent Dunn is named, the first time that we allude to Monica Fuentes, who Brian has seen, but I don't think knows the connection there.
No, he doesn't know yet.
And also the first in a long line of things where Brian is going to do work for the cops or government organization or something in order to get his record wiped clean. So,
yes,
important
you're
minute,
right.
But very dialogue heavy. But is there anything in here that you noticed that you want to talk about?
No, I wanted to help get the names behind Dunn, and they're like blurred just enough to where like I couldn't make any conscious decisions on them.
And at an annoying angle.
Yeah, so like there looked like there was the guy named Todd Hanks, which I thought was funny for you.
Cool.
But like
Okay.
I can't confirm any of these. The only one that's like in a font big enough to actually read is Carter Verone, which makes sense. He wants to be the focal point for the movie. Nobody's supposed to be reading these names behind these guys, but they're specifically blurred like just enough that you can't actually get any names out of them.
We learn a lot in this minute narratively, like in terms of like exposition dump, we get a lot here. We don't know, they don't name Monica Fuentes, but this is basically
They're setting
like,
up
hey,
the
this is what this movie's going to be about, right?
Yep,
We saw a race,
100%.
but here's what the story is, and so it's important. But just for our sake, it's just like, yeah, I already saw who's in the room. You already grabbed everything off the board. We know what everybody's wearing. Agent Dunn is now holding the pizza cup. Like, there's not a lot else really going on, which isn't bad, but just for the purposes of what we're doing,
yeah. There's no cars. It's just Brian's face.
So the trivia question I have, because we could do something that Markham or Bilkin says, but I think an important thing is, what is the name of the agent who was originally tapped to be an undercover street racer with Brian?
This is an excellent question. I 100% agree, and I
Because
like
before last week, would you have known this answer? Because I don't think that I would have.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
No
right.
way.
Okay.
I have no idea who this guy is.
So I have as the answers Agent Adams, Agent Dunn, Agent Gallo, wink wink, and Agent Jones. And so there's also an inside baseball thing, because there was a baseball player for a while named Adam Dunn. So I was like, oh, Adams Dunn.
Nice.
Yeah. There's also a baseball player named Agent Gallo, or Joey Gallo.
Which
not
Brian
Joey
sent us
Callow, but Joey Gallo.
And Brian sent us the home run derby picture because it said like he had hit 12 home runs. He was like, Gallo 12?
So Agent Dunn is the answer, who we will hear from next minute. Any other thoughts about minute 18 in the interest of justice?
I really thought that we were going to get Gallo 12 in this one, but I didn't realize how much exposition we had between the last minute and this minute. It just actually really put into perspective that there's like a lot of dialogue right here.
Yeah.
Because we've been here for like a full minute now, This is 2. And then we haven't even gotten to the Gallo 12 part yet. So.
Well, what's funny is that I took the video file for this movie and I split into minute-long chunks, which is how we're both watching it, so we can watch on a repeat. Like, we don't have to, like, go to the DVD or whatever.
Yeah.
Both, like, this minute and the next minute basically have the same starting frame, which is just Brian's face at that desk. I was like, oh, I guess we're not moving. Because I'm like, I don't know which one of these it is. It's one of these two. And I was like, okay, it's the first one. Because, like, it also could have been, the last one. Like, I know he starts in the room last time, but like, I don't know where that frame was. But, like, basically nobody moves for a full minute because they're just like, here's a bunch of things you need to know. So, yeah.
Yep.
Let's take a break. Let us come back and let's talk about Burnout or Burning.
This is episode number 191, Burning or Burnout. This episode is brought to you by Hatland. Great ideas, move them. To them, innovation means down-to-earth solutions to real-world problems. Shout out to Hatland.
Well, shout out to Hatland and shout out once again to Christian Larson for picking this movie. This is a movie that I have not heard of. Had you heard of this or no?
No, never ever.
So there are apparently 3 of these. There's a Burning 2. I think it's Burning, because they're okay.
Yeah, we're just saying it because it's Norwegian and there's the O with the slash through it.
Yes. But they also, so like the subtitle or the tagline or something is the fast and the funniest.
Yeah.
Instead of furious. And the U in funniest is that same O. So it might be pronounced like a U. I don't know. But Burnout in English, Burning or Burning in Norwegian. But there are 2 other sequels to this.
That's
Burning
cool.
2 and Burning 3. I don't know what they're about. But this was wildly successful at the Norwegian box office. The second most viewed movie that year in the box office in Norway.
Wow.
And the most viewed Norwegian movie because they apparently did a very big social media push and like got in with the car people crowd and were just like, hey, this is a movie that you should support because like we haven't really had a good one of these yet. We're doing our thing. Come out and support us. And like it worked. It's often referred to as Norway's first real car movie.
Okay, that's interesting.
And
Cool
that's
facts.
the extent of all the information I have about this movie. The
'Cause the rest
wiki has
in-
like nothing else, and the IMDb has no trivia. So like big, but mysterious, I guess.
It's weird because you had talked about it that the poster says the fast and the funniest.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it might be kind of a spoof movie, like the ones that Brian is always trying to get us
That's
to
what I was
watch.
expecting, yes. Mm-hmm.
But it was shot like an actual movie. Spoof movies kind of have like a weird cinematic feel to them. Do you know what I'm saying?
They're generally cheaper, yeah. So like it's like this is meant to like spoof movies are not meant to look good. They're just like, hey, you know the thing.
We have
Your
the
brain's gonna
ideas.
fill in the gaps. We're gonna spend our time and whatever. Hopefully it's good on like the jokes and making fun of it or whatever.
Yes. So what I first noticed is like, we're starting this first thing and like really early in the movie before even the title card comes up or whatever, like the very
Yep.
first scene, I was like, this feels not like a spoof movie to me because it's shot pretty well. Like the camera's nice,
Mm-hmm.
like just the framing, everything. I was like, oh, so this is going to be kind of interesting. You messaged me before I had watched it, and I'm watching it today, and I was like, yeah, this isn't really a funny movie at all.
Yeah, I spent like a lot of the first half hour like, where's the comedy? Because like there are jokes and funny things, but like
There are.
it's the same way that Fast and Furious is a comedy. Like you would never call it a comedy.
No.
But there's funny things in there. And I think Fast and Furious movies are largely funnier than this. So like once my brain was like, okay, this is not a comedy. I don't know why they're calling it the Fast and the Funniest.
Nope.
I get why wanting to allude or reference that. Like I get that. But it's a weird pun. But like once I got through that, I was like, okay. Because then it kind of becomes Cannonball Run, but that's
Yes.
a comedy. Like that's a racing movie, but that's firmly like first and foremost a comedy, which you talked about, right?
It becomes Smokey and the Bandit. It becomes
Yep.
all of these car movies that we watched.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still not a comedy by those standards even.
It ends on a joke, which we'll talk about, but it's like, oh. So I was like, I wonder if like the poster just says that thing, and I look on IMDb and Letterboxd, and it's action comedy. Just like, no, like it's firmly what people are calling a comedy. Like I've seen other Norwegian movies. I've seen other, like movies from that area of the world, right? Where it's
Yeah.
just like, it snows a lot here, it's very cold, we kind of hate our lives.
Yep.
And there's usually like a dark humor, which might not be funny to people, but is like objectively comedy. This isn't that either. It's not like
No.
there's a kind of comedy that like we don't find funny. It's just like, no, it's just a car movie. It's not a good thing or bad thing. It's a weird thing to bill it as like the
Comedy.
the fast and the funniest, and then be like, no, it's just like a car movie, which is fine, but it's so weird.
It's so weird. That's what my brain was just trying to figure that part out too. And as a car movie, I actually do find it very enjoyable. They use a lot, like these guys were definitely big fans of classic car movies when they made this, because they use a lot of the pieces and tropes that we've seen in so many other car movies, and they do it fairly well. They do it in an interesting setting with different characters. They did some new interesting kind of things, but at the same time, yes. Ultimately, though, I'm like, why the fuck did you guys pitch this as Fast and the Funniest? Like, who thought that was the thing? And then I'm thinking, like, is there like some kind of deep Norwegian comedy in this that like we're not getting? All of these like weird Norwegian jokes that like you have to have the culture and history of to get. Like we're like missing a bunch of pop culture references or something.
I don't know. Like that was actually the same kind of conversation that Bob and I were having about the Korean movie about Burning, because it's just like, I wonder if we're just not connecting certain things, and I'm guessing possibly, probably. But like, what was also weird was there's kind of like this like intermediary sort of, like they're racing in like a Mustang and a Camaro. Like it's not like, I don't know that they make cars in Norway, but like there's not like a national car pride, right? And then like the villain's in a Toyota. It's just like, oh. So like,
They're doing imports versus muscle cars.
yes, but they're all imports, right? Like they're all,
Yeah, yes. You're right. That's a good point.
it's import muscle versus import.
Import tuner.
Sure. Yeah.
But they're all tuned. Classic cars versus modern imports.
I don't know. So like, I don't know that we're missing anything, because I feel like if there were, because I don't think they make a lot of references like that. Did you like the movie overall, though? I guess is the question. Did you enjoy this movie?
I thought it was pretty good. I don't think that like I loved it. I definitely didn't hate it. I was seeing a lot of bits and pieces of other movies in it. It felt like these guys are big car guys, and I don't know what the history. I kind of imagine, you know, like everywhere else, that like Hollywood kind of like permeates everything everywhere, whether you speak English or not. So I don't know if this movie was made to be like, this is their Tarantino-esque blending of all the classic car movies into like, they're like, this is our favorite parts of like all of these movies that we've seen that I could like pick out by, you know, like by the scene.
Yeah.
And they like kind of made their ultimate movie, or like because maybe people haven't seen them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if these guys are just really in touch with car movies, and they're like, oh, nobody's seen any of these great car movies that we love. Like, let's make a Norwegian version for them. It worked. It's not bad. It's good. It's just, it's nothing mind-blowing to me. It was like nothing that I haven't seen before, maybe.
I'm very curious. I would like, Larson, if you are listening, I hope you are, because this is your episode. Please, like, write in. Let us know why you picked this. If this is something that you had seen before, if you just heard about it. Because I mean, again, being the start of a trilogy, it's like this is a big thing, and I think it's selfish, but I think also largely correct that like most people in most European countries speak English. Not only are they speaking Norwegian, but they're also speaking English. So like, car guys, I'm sure, will have seen, if they wanted to, movies like we were saying before, Smoking the Bandit, Cannonball Run, and Fast and Furious, and whatever, right? Or if
Yes.
they're dubbed or subbed or whatever when they come to Norway, like those are probably available in one form or another.
Agreed.
But I would imagine that this is probably for like everyone else. Like if they've never had a quote unquote real car movie, I can see them being like, well, let's take all the things that we love. And I think that's the hard thing, the context. Like, I don't know that it's necessarily like Norwegian influences, but I think it's the Norwegian history, right? And that might be what you were saying before, but it's like I was looking last night on Letterboxd at like Norwegian language films that I've seen, right?
Okay.
And like some of them are just, you know, like Captain America, the First Avenger, like has some Norwegian dialects, but it's like, that doesn't really
Well, that
count.
doesn't count, yeah.
A lot of Fantastic Fest, obviously, stuff, you know, really is what I've seen. Like Thelma is a great movie. Force Majeure is amazing. The Wave is really good. In Order of Disappearance is great. Like there's these like kind of intense sort of thrillers, but like I don't know that there are car movies other than Burning, or Borning, or whatever, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's also
yeah.
weird that I saw 2 movies called Burning this week. Maybe, who knows?
I know. I was
Whatever.
thinking that when you were saying it before with the books.
I didn't realize, because it's so, and also in 2 different languages that aren't English.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Like, it feels important, and also a hard to pinpoint the specific context.
I agree. Yes.
But then at the end of the day, like, it's not a movie that I loved, but I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed finding the references, and I'm so glad that, like, it was received so well, and that they had 2 sequels, because I thought it was pretty cool. Also, like, they're fans of the things, like, it was dedicated to Hal Needham, who we've covered, because he did Smokey and the Bandit, Cannonball Run, but he also did my favorite movie of all time, Rad. Like,
Yeah.
it's just dedicating a movie to a guy like Hal Needham is like, oh, we like a very specific kind of thing. And I was like, we're in good hands, I think.
Yeah, and I think that they did a really good job. I can't find anything to fault about them. They did it in a very tasteful way. Their enjoyment of the other things shone through this. You know, like, none of these things were like, oh, we're just going to recreate that or steal these parts of it. It was like, no, they're paying a lot of homage to things that they like and they've seen before. And it feels very genuine. I also thought that it was going to be much more Fast and the Furious related, based on, like, the beginning and the, like, Supra versus Mustang, and, like, this is what we're going to do. And I was like, oh, and they even start the movie at train tracks, right? Like, they're waiting at the train tracks, and, like, there's an oncoming truck, they're playing chicken. And so I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to have, like, lots of Fast and Furious tones, but then it's really not. It's much more classic
It's all the car
movies.
stuff. Yeah, it's all car things, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's, they basically, without saying that, they talk about, like, racing for pinks. And there's also, like, crazy over the top Fast and Furious type stunts, like, at one point. So
Toned down, but yes.
but there's one thing in particular where I was like, oh, that's really kind of cool. But so the plot of this movie, and remember, this is available to rent or buy on the Microsoft Store or something.
that's
I think
so weird,
whatever
I know.
wherever I watched that, I don't remember.
Yeah.
The plot of this movie is that in the beginning, in the opening scene, a man and wife are in a car, and they
Pregnant.
get pulled up
She's
next
pregnant.
to. She's pregnant, and they get pulled up next to by a guy in a Toyota, like in a tuner.
It's a Supra, yeah.
He, like, revs his engine, and the wife is just like, which I thought was kind of cool. She's like, yeah, race him, like, let's do this. They're racing for $100 because that's just like what they do. And to avoid a truck, our hero, the main character, swerves out of the way and flips the car, and it lands upside down. They both survive, and in a first for me in a movie, her water breaks while she's upside down. I was like, that's actually kind of cool too.
It is kind of cool. I like that. At first I thought she peed on herself, like she was so nervous, but it was so against character because she was the one who was like, yeah, race him. Like, we got this. Don't worry about it. So I was like, is she, like, really scared now? And then she's like, oh my God, my water broke. But it dripped down.
And so they go to the hospital, she gives birth, and he gets arrested. And then there's a really cool thing. It says 14 years, 2 divorces, and 120 speeding tickets later. We jump ahead in time. He's running like an auto body shop, like a garage and store. The wife rolls up with her new husband and their 2 new kids and the daughter that they had. And she's like, cool, you said you take care of her. We're going away for 2 weeks. And he's just like, what? And then there's this, like, teenage girl around. And this is where the movie kind of loses me, to be honest, because this girl is cool. She's into cars. She loves her dad. She wants to be there.
Part of the
wants
team,
to help.
yeah.
And he's just like,
Such a
get the
dick
fuck
bag.
out of my way. And it's
He's
like,
yeah, shut up and sit over there. Over and over again. Yes.
I'm going to come back to this in a second. So the guy who he races 14 years earlier in the opening comes back, and they want to race, and there's this funny scene about, like, how many kilometers it is to this, like, basically the coast of, the northern coast of wherever, right?
Obviously it's Cannonball Run, but also this felt so Need for Speed, didn't it?
Oh, especially where they wind up.
Yes.
And also,
okay.
so that this movie came out the same year as Need for Speed, and a lot of comparisons that were kind of made, like, people who saw this one compared it to Need for Speed, which is, I think, a different thing altogether, because, like, that's like a $100 million Hollywood blockbuster, and this is like Norwegian upstart or whatever, not upstart filmmakers, but like a different ballgame altogether, right? So not fair to either of them, really. So they start this Cannonball Run, and there's, like, instead of just them, there's, like, a fleet of cars. So there's probably 25 or 30 or maybe even more that are doing this race.
Yeah, because I thought it was going to be just those 2, but then all of a sudden they're like, oh no, there's a race, like, everybody can kick in, and it's going to be a giant Cannonball Run race.
Yes, but they're all just racing for $100 because they're like, you want to race
a pot
for
of
pinks?
$100, yeah.
Yes. the girl's like, hey, I'm gonna come with you, and the dad's like, fuck off, no you're not. It's like, what are we doing?
It's like, stay with your grandma, get out of here.
And so she goes in another car with other people, and then
well,
eventually...
she's like hidden in his car, and he's about to pull off, and yeah.
And then eventually, like, before she gets left behind, because obviously she's not going to, because, like, it's the only other real main character in the movie, because, like, the dad has a new girlfriend, but, like, she doesn't, like, she's also racing, but we barely know about her or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, clearly the girl's gonna come, and so she hides in another car and eventually gets in his car, but, like, I was just thinking, like, how difficult it is to root for this guy. There's no, like, his daughter is, like, for what he's trying to do in terms of having an auto body shop and racing a cannonball run, like, I get that you might not want to have someone else with you, but, like, she's your daughter. They seemingly have a good... Yeah, but, like, that's not really what he's saying, is it?
No, he's just, like, if he's letting her, like, work on the car when she gets there, he's like, oh, like, we're buds, and he's like, look, this is going to be a dangerous run, and, like, I know what happened with your mom when you were a kid, like, when you were in her stomach. I don't want anything to happen to you. But he's not saying that. He's just like, no, just, like, dick off. Like, and she's like, I like engines and stuff. And he's like, I don't care. And, like, he just keeps, like, just pushing her away. And it's so weird.
And there is a thing early on where she sabotages him. Like, there's this thing called Street Legal, which is basically their race wars, where it's just, like, one-on-one drag races. And she sabotages
Jacobs him. She Jacobs him hard.
Mm-hmm. But instead of blowing up, he just, like, his engine dies, right? And so, of course, while they're racing... He's like, hey, we're finally bonding, like, you know, isn't this great? And she's like, I sabotaged your car. And he's just like, I'm like, what? I know that has to come out, but, like...
Yes.
Every little bit of momentum we had toward making this relationship, like, good, was just like...
Then gets
now we're back to square
shut. And then he gets, like, pissy with her, and they're, like, grumpy for, like, pretty much the rest of the movie.
And, like, I just found it hard to root for him when... Again, I get not wanting to have another person, even though... It doesn't seem like other people are really taking this too seriously, right? Like, his rival is, but, like, other people, like, have other people in their car and whatever. Like, they have to stop at, like, gas stations and, like, get, like, receipts from places.
It seems more Cannonball Run, like, where it's just, like, it's goofy and, like, it was a fun thing to do. They're more just, like, they're, like, meeting up with other people. Like, they're not trying to win this, right? Like, it's not like the pot is, like, what the motivation is. It's just, like, to do the thing.
There's almost no better case scenario to have a co-pilot be... Again, thinking about Dom, like, how excited Dom would be if baby Brian wanted to, and who's like 14 in this case, whatever, right? Like, if Brian wanted to race with Dom, or if Jack wanted to race with Mia or Brian, right? Like, it's just like, that would be the dream in the Fast and Furious. And here he's just like, get out of here. It's just like, wait, what?
And even the other guy addresses it later, like, when he, like, meets up and finally gets, because she was in the other car with like, the two old guys. And when he shows up, he's like, you should take your daughter on this race, man. Like, you know, you should build some memories with her. And he's still like, nah, I'm good. It is hard. It's very, very hard to root for him. And him being the main character, there's no, like, real hero in this, right?
Right, yeah. And, like, he's not even an anti-hero. He's just kind of a dick.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
And, like, what, like, the frustrating thing for me is that, like, I like other parts of this. Like, I like the other car with the dude and his son or whatever in the back, and the guy who's dying, but then we think dies and doesn't actually die. Like, there's comedy to be had there. There's the girlfriend we learn about, but, like, 80% of this movie is with the dad and the daughter, and it's just like, I don't want to be here. Like, it just feels...
awkward silence.
Awkward. It just feels like a black hole of, like, empathy. And it's just like, this is unfortunate.
Yeah, if it was like a really dark, sad relationship drive movie, I think maybe you would have responded better to it. Like, they're, like, trying to work through their relationship, but he just, like, being a dick. Like, he's not even just, like... It's not even like he has, like, this trauma that he's trying to work through. He's just like, go away. I'm a racer, and I don't want you in my world right now. And she's trying so hard to be a part of it.
Because I was having such a hard time connecting with that, like, it took away from other parts of the story. Like, they literally play Eastbound and Down, like,
they do.
Smoking the Bandit, which I think is cool.
Yep.
And I wrote down at one point, like, is the comedy that, like, they're going slowly? Like, is it just, like, that nobody cares? But, like, that's not funny. Like, they're not playing that for jokes. Just, it's wild. I don't know.
I think that there's some things that were supposed to be funny, like, when he like, goes in, he, like, buys snacks. Part of the race is that they have to stay in Norway, because apparently you could, like, go through parts of Sweden or something and kind of, like, shortcut. So to make sure that they stay in Norway, they're like, you have to, like, go to a gas station in this town, which is like, along the border, and like get like a ferry ticket. So like they stop at the first pit stop, which is the gas station, and they're like, you have to get a receipt that just proves that you were there. And he forgets the receipt, and the daughter's like, go get the receipt. And he's like, okay. He just like reaches in the trash and grabs a receipt from there, which honestly, great idea. That totally, like, you have a receipt from there. You know what I mean? Like, unless somebody was like cheating with you to get you a receipt to hand it to you somewhere else, which would be like lame in this thing. Like, and somebody else saw you there. Like, that's fine. And she's like, ooh, gross. And I was like, was that supposed to be funny? Like, was that a joke?
Don't know.
I
Couldn't
don't
tell
know
you.
either. Yeah.
I can also tell you that, like, the same way that we're having things lost in translation, I think it goes in reverse as well, because, like, early on when they're celebrating, like, people are, like, flying the Confederate flag. It's like, oh, you have no idea what that means.
Wait,
like,
wait, I didn't see this.
Oh, yeah, early on, at Street Legal, after the race between the Mustang and the Camaro, there's just people, like, in their cars, like, sitting in the convertible, like, on top of the seat or whatever, and they're, like, flying the Confederate flag, and it's just like, oh.
I think maybe that's more of like a Dukes of Hazzard General
Well, it's like
Lee
it's
reference.
Smoking the Bandit, Dukes of Hazzard, yeah, but it's still like do a little research, which I understand that like it's still flown in this country. That only just recently like NASCAR outlawed it. Like it was still happening here,
and
but
this
like
is 2014. Yes,
still,
yeah, fair.
There's a weird thing that happens, but I think it was also kind of funny and kind of cool, and more reason to root for the daughter is that at one point he gives her like a fish sandwich or whatever, right? And he's like, just eat this.
They're eating a lot of rye bread in this, by the way, or pumpernickel, something that's very brown.
As the dad calls it, ordinary bread.
Ordinary bread, yeah, exactly.
She's like, what kind of bread is this? He's like, ordinary bread. And she has an allergic reaction to that. They have to go to the hospital.
I did not. If you would have asked me what like the pivot point of this movie would have been, peanut allergy was not on my bingo card.
Which again, wildly serious for an action comedy.
Yes. Is there like a lot of peanut allergy in Norway that we don't know about? Or is it just like, I don't know.
So they go to the hospital, she's fine, and she's like, cool, we're going to go leave, we're going to finish this race. And he's just like, what? And so like it's an uplifting moment for her, but again, like I don't remember exactly how he responds, but it just feels like he's not fully on board. Like I guess he's rightfully concerned that his daughter almost died.
Yes, she went
but it's like the daughter
shock,
in like kind of a moment of like triumph and also comedy. Is just like, no, we got to finish this race. And it's like, cool, okay. And the dad's like, well, and I'm like, just I don't know, just pick either a comedy or a drama or an action lane. You can go in any one direction, and I would enjoy it a lot. But the fact that you're trying to do like all three, it's like, well,
The peanut allergy thing, I get that allergies are serious, but in a movie like this, like if they would have had like the old guy have like a peanut allergy, and they would have like had to stop, and something goofy happens, kind of like Cannonball Run or Gumball or something. It would have felt much. This tonally could have played way differently. That's what you're saying too. Is that the seriousness of like she almost dies?
Yeah.
And she has to go to the hospital, as opposed to being like, oh, like we sprayed pollen in this guy's eyes and he wrecked his car. What a goofy clown.
Right.
Like, it's really weird, man.
In this final stretch is where I think the stuff that like I hadn't really seen before is cool. Like we're also kind of following, like in Smoking the Bandit, like in a bunch of these movies, we're kind of following the cops, and there's the cops in the helicopters, and there's cops on the ground, they're trying to set up roadblocks and whatever.
Yes.
And at one point they have a roadblock, and then the racers all hire a tractor to like plow a road through a field, and I was like, that's really kind of cool.
That's really cool, dude. It was like one of the best parts of the movie for me. I was like, it's so genius. There's a 2-lane road. The cops park like a tanker across it. So knowing that the cars can't go through it, there's just really high grains on the side. And they're like, okay, so they're stopping. They're arresting all these cars. Like some guy stops them at the gas station or something. He's like, yo, we're like the local car guys. We know how to get around this. And they're like, what are you talking? Like, are you serious? And he's like, we heard there's a race. Like, I think we can help. And they're like, okay. And like that community and like the car guys like trying to help you screw the cops is really fun.
Very, very fun. I like that a lot. And then we get the like huge action. It's not necessarily huge, but like the cool thing that I'd never seen before the dad starts making shortcuts. His name is Roy, and he starts making like shortcuts because he's like falling behind, and he like drives off, or maybe he gets bumped off, but like he jumps his car off a cliff, and it lands on the back of a flatbed truck, and he and the daughter are both like, "Oh my god!" Like, and like it's cool.
It was really cool. That was the classic high-low that we were talking about in so many of these classic car movies. That like he's driving up, and he just like jumps it right onto the back of a flatbed, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I've never seen that either. That is really cool. And then he just like throws it in reverse, backs off this thing, car falls, and he puts it in drive and drives right off. So I was like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. And then, like all of these movies, they all basically get to the finish line around the same time somehow. 2,000 kilometers, 2,200 kilometers, which is, I don't know, like 1,500 miles or something like that. Like it's, far. It's a far race. They get to the end all together, and the Toyota, like the villain is like Tokyo drifting around corners, which is pretty cool. And then he wins the race basically to like at the end of Need for Speed, like where they racing to the lighthouse. It's not a lighthouse, but it might as well be a lighthouse because like it's overlooking water, and like it's where a lighthouse should be.
Lighthouse. Yes.
And so I don't think that's a reference to Need for Speed because it came out the same year, but it's just coincidental that they're both doing these like long ass races.
And they keep showing you the map too, which also felt very Need for Speed. Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it doesn't matter if they win or lose, and it's not like there's cops there at the end. Although I do think I remember seeing, like, at the beginning of the plot summary for, like, Burning 2, he, like, gets out of jail. So I'm assuming, like, at the end of this, like, they all get arrested or whatever, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
While this is all happening, the other car, where it's the two dudes and the son in the back that the daughter had jumped in, the guy is like, I have a brain disease. Like, I'm going to die at some point. Like, I could die at any minute now. As they're like almost at the end, he's like, but I've never left the country. I've never been north of wherever. Yeah. I want to go on this trip. I think this is meaningful to me. Seemingly like a couple minutes before the end of the race, he dies, right? Like, he just like, oh no,
yeah,
he's dead.
Because he's passed out in the passenger seat. Yeah, he tries to revive him. They yell. He like is yelling nothing.
And so I guess before they're about to get arrested, the driver of that car, in a very kind of weird, cool but also very strange move, basically gives him like a Viking funeral.
He wants to send him on a Viking's funeral. Yep, 100%. Yeah. They're at the very north of Norway. Mm-hmm. It's like the point at the north. So he's like, okay, he grabs the rock. He like starts the car, puts the rock on the accelerator so that he won't get arrested, and they just send him into the water.
And they drive him off a cliff that's probably several hundred feet tall, and it's just like, oh, this is like a, you're losing your car, but I guess giving your friend like a cool death.
He built it. The dead guy was like, remember, that was like part of the movie at the beginning.
Yes.
He's I built this car, I want to see what it can do. I've never been north of whatever, the airport.
But still a little strange to just like throw the car away, basically. But then, in like the movie's main, maybe funniest moment, I don't know.
Funniest moment, yes.
The dude in the passenger seat, who is dead, wakes up, and we freeze frame, and the movie ends.
As he's in midair, falling off the cliff, yep.
Yeah. So he's going to die. He wasn't dead. They thought he was dead, but he's about to die. So, comedy, but I did laugh at that. Like, I knew it was going to happen, but I still laughed.
Rachel found that part very enjoyable, too. I definitely saw it coming because of just, like, the vibes of the movie, but at the same point, like, at the same time, I was like, oh, nice play. That was a good way to end it. That's cute.
Any other thoughts about Burning?
I think it was good. I can't tell if I want to see the rest of them or not. How do you feel? Do you want to watch the rest of them or no?
Let me actually look. When we look on Letterboxd later, I'm going to see how they stack up.
Okay.
Because this did not make me want to watch more, but it also, I didn't dislike it. I just wish that I liked it more. So, like, I'm glad I saw this because it feels, like, important. Like, just how we watched, remember, like, years ago for Film Club, we watched, like, the Bollywood version of Fast and Furious. I'm like, oh, I don't want to watch, like, there's like 4 or 5 of those or whatever. Like,
yes,
I don't want to watch more of those, but like, I'm glad that I saw one. Like, I'm glad that I saw this one because, like, to a certain section of the world, like, this is maybe their Fast and Furious. Like, if Fast and Furious is not their Fast and Furious, this is their Fast and Furious. I'm like, I'm glad I saw one.
Yes, I just don't feel like it is Fast and Furious. It's just like their car movie. And I'm curious to see like what they do in the next ones, like if they take things from other movies that we haven't seen. So I'm curious about them, but I'm not like eager to watch another one immediately.
If like, because this has like, I think like a 3-ish average on Letterboxd. If the next two are like a 4 or plus, like just like out of nowhere, like these are amazing. Like we can do it as like a Patreon bonus or something. But like,
sounds good.
For now, I'm okay with it. So.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I think it was interesting. It was fun to see. There was some new ideas in it. Some of the stunts were pretty cool.
I just don't like the main dude, I think. Like, not the actor, because he's fine, but just, like, the character just, like, being grumpy
Even the daughter wasn't like as charismatic enough for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this would have been more of a cliche, but I think if she was like an emo pissy teen and didn't want to be with him, then he wanted her to come or whatever. And like
It
they
might
have
have
the same.
played out better. Yeah.
Yes. But the fact
Yeah.
that she's like, hey, I want to do this. And he's like, no. It's just like, why? What?
Yeah, this is so ass backwards.
Because like
Yeah.
if he's like, you need to come with me because I told your mom that, I was
gonna
watch
take care
F
of you.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And you have to do this thing because I have to do this thing or whatever. And she's like, no, I don't want to do it. And like he like tricks her into like whatever, like, she falls asleep and he like moves her to the car, any number of things, right?
Yeah.
And she's just on this road trip and then that's when they bond or whatever. But no. Like, this is a girl who's reading car magazines. Like she's like willingly learning about this stuff.
And
It's
she's
just
like, I like engines. She knew how to fuck with the carburetor to Jacob
Yeah.
him. Like, she knows what she's doing. She's a really good co-pilot, right? Like, this is gonna be somebody that's actually pretty helpful. But then, like, at the end, she also plays so weird when he, like, has to change the tire. And she's like, you should have done this earlier. And, like, instead of, like, being the pit crew and, like, helping... And again, very close to the end of this movie, he's like, you either need to shut up or stay behind. And she's like,
Yeah.
I'll shut up then.
Let's watch the trailer for this. I don't think it's in English because the movie's not in English, and I don't know if there's going to be subtitles or not, but it's on YouTube. It's film trailer Burning, posted by Telenor T-We, posted November 2014, has 120,000 views, 1 minute, 59 seconds.
I'm ready whenever you are.
3, 2, 1, play. Like, it was one of those scenes. Yeah, it's not subtitles. It was like one of those scenes with the women just like in the back of the car that they were like just had a Confederate flag, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Weird, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, no subtitles is hard.
Well, it's just a matter of like how they sell it, right? Like,
Yeah. There is a lot of cool cars in this movie too, by the way. There's like Ferraris. Like they use like a really cool set of cars to do it. So I'm like they didn't skimp on that.
I also didn't feel, and maybe because it's a 2000. I like this part where they like make this machine like burn out because they're
all getting
so many
traffic
speeding
tickets.
pictures.
Yeah.
I didn't get the sense that they were really like racing. Like they're kind of just like on surface streets, right? And they're just kind of like going kind of fast.
Yeah. I think maybe speeding is like a really big thing in Norway, and it's like much more serious than we imagined.
Yeah, because there is the opening scene with the cops where they're like, they were doing 140, which is like 85 miles an hour. It's like, yeah, okay. It's fast. It's way too fast for the road they're on, but it's not like, it didn't seem reckless or something. It's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah, these cars are pretty cool. Him trying to light the cigarette with the no windshield was pretty funny. I like that part.
yeah. I also like this cop kicking the other cop out. He's like, I'm on a break. He's just like, I got to do this thing. Right? So.
Yeah. Norway looks beautiful too, by the way. Like,
Yeah, man.
That's the other thing. Like, as I was watching this, I was like, hey, I kind of want to do this drive. Like, it looks really cool. Oh, so it's firmly Fast and the Furious lettering and
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Start
Okay.
and guard 13 August. Start,
Yeah.
I guess start your car, start your engines.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That's a good guess.
All right, the Letterboxd game. So for reference sake, Mad Max Fury Road, one of the most popular films on Letterboxd, has been seen by 844,000 people. Burnout, a.k.a. Burning, directed by Halvard Brein, a weird character in there, I do not know how it's pronounced. 2014, starring Anders Basmo Christiansen, Ida Husi, and Sven Norden, probably pronounced all those wrong, has been seen by how many people? Average rating of 2.9.
I'm going to say 3,000.
You're too high.
Really? Okay. 1,800?
Still too high.
Really? 1,200. Last guess.
It is 1327, 1327. Ooh, 1327.
1327!
And I was the most recent person to watch this. I was the most recent person to review it. So maybe I was the 1327th person. Wow.
Very cool. What? Wow. Okay.
That's very cool.
That was a nice turn. I like that.
For reference, Burnout 2, Burning 2,
Yes.
same director, same 2 stars, which is the dad and the daughter. 810 people have seen that. Average rating of 2.7, so a little bit lower, but not wildly lower. And then the final one, Asphalt Burning, a.k.a. Burning 3, same director, same stars, all three of them, I guess, including the other guy, like not the villain, but the other guy in the car.
Yeah.
That one's on Netflix. From the Trolls Path to Nürburgring. Okay. Also seen by 800 people. Has a 2.3. So the lowest rated of the three, but that's on Netflix. So,
Okay.
So out of those 1,327 people, how many have this in their top 4?
2.
Lower.
0.
Higher.
1.
We're going to go to Chris Mid's MIDT. Chris Mid, her letterbox. She's only got 3 in her top 4. A lot of people only have fewer than 4 for whatever reason. But we've never played one of these because I've always had different options.
Yeah, but there's
Burning
one option. Okay.
is her second favorite movie of all time. And I know for sure you have seen both 1 and 3. I know that you probably love 3, and I'm guessing you probably really like 1. Both American movies. Both
Okay.
from the 2000s. Both Mike Manzi Third Time's a Charm candidates, as they're both a third in a franchise.
Oh. Huh.
One of them is arguably your favorite franchise that isn't Fast and Furious.
What's my favorite franchise that isn't Fast and the Furious?
I don't know if you would call it favorite franchise, but I think that you would not say it's incorrect. It might not be correct, but I don't think you would say it's incorrect for me to say this. And you know the name. You don't have to name the movie because they have like kind of weird subtitles, whatever. But like, if you just name the franchise for either of these,
Not Marvel, right? No.
the
Is it
other one
Marvel?
is in the Marvel verse,
Okay.
but not the one that I'm trying to get you to guess. Not your favorite.
My favorite franchise. What movie do I go see a lot of? Is there a bunch of them or just like a couple?
There are 8 of them.
There are 8 of them. Land Before Time.
No, I don't think I've ever heard you talk about that.
No, I was just kidding. There's 8 of these movies.
And as far as I know, there is 0 crossover between this franchise and the Fastiverse,
Interesting.
even though they basically ran concurrently.
Ran concurrently. There's 8 of them as well.
And I will say that her favorite, her number 1 and number 3, the third in both these franchises, are likely considered the best in each of the franchises,
Okay.
which is uncommon, I would say, for third movies. But in your favorite franchise, I would say is pretty overwhelmingly, I would say, most people's favorites. In the other one, in the Marvel one, it is, I think, easily the best of the franchise of those 3, and one of people's favorites in the broader Marvel-verse.
Is it Thor Ragnarok is one
Thor
of them?
Ragnarok is her number 1, yes.
Okay.
Easily better than Thor and Thor the Dark World.
Yeah.
I like the first Thor. I don't like Dark World, but
Dark
Ragnarok
World was
is
kind of meh. I agree. Okay.
pretty great.
I can't think of this other franchise. What is a franchise that there's 8 of that runs concurrent to Fast and the Furious that I really like?
I would maybe, I don't know if this is true or not, but I don't know. Again, that's untrue. You might have seen these movies more than the Fast and the Furious.
I might have seen them more than the Fast and the Furious. Oh, is it Harry Potter?
It's Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
There you go. Okay, yes. Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, like I don't know if that's your favorite franchise, but it's definitely up there. And I think you, if nothing
one that
else,
Rach
you've
and I
seen
watch a
it
ton of.
a
Yeah.
ton. Yeah.
I really, really like the movies. I wasn't even thinking about that as a franchise, but yes, you're right. There's 8 of them. It's a franchise for sure. The 4th one's my favorite, but
Thor Ragnarok, Burning, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Well, 4th one has our Pats as my boy Cedric Diggory from Hufflepuff.
yeah, that's the.
But like
that's the
most
best one.
people like Azkaban most because it's directed by Alfonso Cuarón.
Yep.
It's kind of the darkest of the bunch,
Yep.
and also I think one of the better books from what I remember. I don't know. I've only read them once or
Yeah,
a while ago or whatever. But
you should read them for how to win the lottery.
I don't think that I think I'm good. Like I saw one of my friends rereading them on Goodreads, and I'm like, really? Like I get it, like comfort things or whatever. But like, yeah, I think I'm good. That notorious turf, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, true.
Well, thank you once again to Larson for suggesting this movie. I hope you liked it. Please, if you write in, if other people out there have seen this, write in. I don't know that you should go seek it out, but if you want to, if it sounds interesting, if you want to sort of broaden your cultural palette,
Yeah.
I think you do worse than this. But I don't think you need to
I
see this.
agree.
But I think if you've seen it, be very curious what you think of it, and also Larson specifically, if it's something that you loved or were curious about, or what.
Yeah.
Please write in family at CageClub.me, as you know.
Yes.
Joe, next week, Fast 5.
Okay.
We're also unveiling next week the nominees for the second year of the Hall of Fame. So that's going to happen
Just
in
the
the
nominees,
intro
not the
segments.
winners.
No, the winners. Oh, we already did the nominees. That's
Yes,
already
I
out
thought.
there.
Okay, cool.
The inductees. Sorry, the wrong word. The inductees. The second class. So if you are listening to this on the day it comes out, you have until tomorrow night, Wednesday the 21st, around dinner time-ish Eastern time, to vote, because that's when we will record that intro, and then it will be announced on the Patreon feed the following Friday, this Friday, and then, to everybody next Tuesday. But vote, cageclub.me/bracket. Email us, family@cageclub.me. You know how to get in touch with us. Joe, any other thoughts about Burning or anything we talked about today?
No, I think I need to process it a little bit more, and I kind of do want to watch the next one just to see how this plays out.
It seems like they each get a little bit worse, but it seems like the second one's still like about this good. So if you enjoy this one, give us a shot and report back, because I'm probably not going to watch it soon. If you're like, oh, this is like, because
I'm not
also
going to watch it soon, but I'm going to think about it.
Just because it's worse to Letterboxd does not mean that like
nothing.
Like
it
could be filled with Fast and Furious references or something, right?
Exactly.
So, like,
yeah. That means nothing to me. Yeah.
For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at TooFast2Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page, TooFast2Forever.com, and our store, TooFast2Forever.shop. Thank you to whoever bought a Cha-Cha-Cha t-shirt, you, the real MVP. I don't know who you are because they do not tell us, but shout out to you. Come back next week for Fast 5, and again, after that, of course, for F9. It should be on VOD soon-ish.
Hopefully.
Get in touch with us however you want. Follow us wherever you want. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, or at least just a rating at the very least.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too.
And we'll tell you all about it
when we see you